Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, August the 20th, 2022. Today we've got another 5 show. Last week's show on 5 pet peeves about Las Vegas did very well. Once again, there's not really a lot of news or information to share about Las Vegas today, so I thought I would do another top 5. And this is the top 5 things I always do when I go to Las Vegas. So some of these may surprise you, but it's just some stuff that I've actually looked back on, like the last 6, 7, 8 trips to see what things I have done every time. And all of them aren't super Vegas-y, but they're just things I do. Speaking of things I do, I always like to thank the members of this channel, the people we like to call executive producers. So without any further ado, let's do that here. And once again, thanks to those folks. Now, in some housekeeping notes, next week's schedule will be, as always, we'll have our podcast on Monday, our Vegas tips and tricks programs on Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be back next week with another episode of Vegas Weekly. Hey, it sounds like the show's almost over. For some of you, it might be. Hey, don't go yet. But the following week probably will be somewhat disrupted because on Wednesday, I will begin Vegas 50. Yes, my 50th trip to Las Vegas and my longest, starting up the evening of August the 31st, and we don't get back until the morning of September the 8th. So there's a number of little small activities that I've been planning over the past few weeks, and then we've got a Mark Timber event that I'm be fortunate enough to be involved in on. I believe we're doing that on the 4th or 5th. I think it's the 5th. Yeah, the 5th. So that'll be fun as well. I am looking, very possibly, I've not officially decided yet, but it is a strong possibility that I will do my monthly live stream live from Las Vegas, probably from my room at the Excalibur Hotel and Casino, very late on the night of August the 31st, or possibly very early on the morning of September the 1st. If you like that idea, let me know. Probably just get a little bit of an update on the trip, the travel day, that kind of thing, the thoughts on the room, and just some thoughts on the week to come. So that's likely to be our monthly live stream. Otherwise, we would have had to do it this following Wednesday, and I really don't see a whole lot of purpose in it. We've already pretty much previewed the show. Okay, so let's get back to the topic of this week's program, the top 5 things I always do when I am in Las Vegas. Now, before I get to the official top 5, there's a few honorable mentions, things that I usually always do when I'm in Las Vegas. But, there's occasional gaps. There were recent trips where it didn't happen. So just go ahead and throw a few of those in. I pretty much always try to hit up the Bellagio fountains, but I actually had a couple trips in a row where I didn't make it that way. Of course, my favorite is to catch like the first show of the day, which is the Whitney Houston Star Spangled Banner, and then Time to Say Goodbye with Sarah Brightman and Andrea Bocelli. I think it's the best of the fountain shows. I usually just try to catch that. I haven't caught that one in several trips now, for several years, I guess. But I did catch the show again this past trip, and I do always like to do that. I also always like to find some time and a place where I can play the little plastic horse game. And as some of you know, I had some very good success on that game on my trip in July, and so that was great fun. And actually, I've had pretty good luck on that game the last few times I've played it. But there have been a few times that I didn't play it, so had to kind of leave that one out. And I usually always end up walking through the Caesars Forum shops for whatever reason. I usually get lost along the way. I mean, it's not necessarily the most scenic, wonderful place in the world, but at some point it seems like it's a good way to try to cut through some of the traffic on the sidewalk and, get out of the heat. So that's something I usually always do. Okay, so let's get into now the 5 things I always do when I'm in Las Vegas. Okay, so number 1, I always, somehow, however briefly, make it to Planet Hollywood. And I think I know why. It's a combination of reasons. One, I enjoy the property. I like playing in the casino. It's a fun environment. I have a nice sort of bank of Keno machines that I like to play that's pretty close to one of the service bars, so the drink service is usually pretty good there. And it's so centrally located that whether I'm staying far north of that area or far south of that area, at some point I'm inevitably making my way across that part of Las Vegas Boulevard. And when I get close, I just have to go in. And, sometimes it's as much as just a quick walk through or stop at the bar and get a drink or something. But typically I'll actually spend some time sitting, like I said, either at one of the bars or playing at one of the slot machines. I seem to have reasonably good luck on the slots there. Or, like I said, playing Keno for hours and hours. I've had several sessions there over the years that lasted hours and hours. And like I said, I just like the place. It's inevitably a place that I get close to at some point on the trip. And so I pretty much always make my way inside, spend a little time there. Now on my next trip in September, I'll be there for 3 nights. So I'll definitely keep that one alive. Okay, so the second thing I always do when I come to Las Vegas, and I had to go back quite a number of trips to find the last time that I didn't do this, so it definitely counts, and that is going downtown. Now, for several trips and over the course of, 2-3 years, it seemed like I was always staying downtown for at least a night or a couple of nights, and that worked out really well. But the last couple of years, it just hasn't worked out in terms of money, price, whatever. I had better offers elsewhere. But I have always made it downtown for at least one night. And that night tends to be one of the blurriest nights of the trip. There's just so many places I like to hang out when I go downtown. I almost never make it to all of those spots, whether it be up at the plaza or over at Main Street Station now that it's open again. I've enjoyed spending time at Circa since it opened. I like hanging out at the bar at Golden Gate, El Cortez. Have become a really big fan of the D in recent years, particularly the upstairs area by like Bar Canada. They have the Sigma Derby and the Fortune Cup game right there. So a really good spot, and enjoy spending time there. But yeah, inevitably at some point on the trip, and it's going to happen at least once, I may do it a second time actually on this next trip, I make the effort, and that's usually this case, it's going to be like a cab or a ride share it's going to take to get there, but I will go downtown. Usually I see a light show or two, but mostly just enjoy the casinos, enjoy the experience, and some of the values there, and had pretty good luck there recently. So always try to make a trip downtown. Okay, so the third thing I always try to do on every trip, and I don't know, is this one's kind of cheating, I suppose, because it's not very specific to any particular casino or any particular, I guess it's a particular activity, but I always try to spend some time hanging out at one of the casino bars playing some video poker. And on this last trip, I did that a couple different times at the sort of back bar there. I think it's like the Winners Bar or something by the sports book at Luxor. And, I had a good time with that. So, it depends on where I'm staying or what I'm doing. I've had, whether it be a bar at Bally's or Cromwell or somewhere downtown like the Bar Canada. At some point, there's inevitably a session or two. And so usually one of those sessions goes on probably a little too long to where it's like early afternoon and the day is already a little blurry. But I always like to do that. And, it gives me a chance to get some hits on some video poker. I usually always play the double-double bonus. And sometimes that's a great friend, and sometimes it's a terrible scourge on one's wallet. Now, I will sometimes also switch over and play some Keno, particularly if they have the 4-card Keno. But a lot of times, if you play at the bar, you get less credit for your play because it just assumes you're playing video poker. And also, there's not usually as good a selection of games. as far as Keno is concerned. So yeah, like I said, it mostly tends to be video poker, but it does switch around from time to time. And I just think that's so much the Vegas experience, particularly sort of the solo Vegas experience. If you're going by yourself, or you're there and you're spending a day or an afternoon by yourself, it's pretty much the way you gotta do it. And it's the way I always do it on my trips to Vegas. Okay, so the fourth thing I always do when I go to Las Vegas is I always hit up one of the convenience stores on the Strip, whether it be Walgreens or CVS. There's a Target now. Downtown, a lot of times I'll hit up the ABC store and I'll buy some supplies. Now, hopefully, and I usually try to arrange it this way, I will have a refrigerator in my room. I know on this next trip I won't for several days, but there are ways around that. You can always get your own sort of makeshift cooler, or you can just dump a bunch of ice in the trash can or in the sink, or if you're really crazy, in the tub, I guess, and keep your drinks cool. So I always try to get some kind of booze, whether it be a bottle of vodka or, a 6-pack of beer or something. Usually I always try to get some kind of snacks, typically some chips. Lately it's been the cheddar and sour cream, the greatest new chip in the last, of the 21st century. And I usually get that. And I'm a big fan of iced tea. Sometimes that's kind of hard to find. I mean, you're not really going to order that when you're playing slots. So most places, or even the gift shops, will have those little 16-ounce containers of tea. And so I will get a couple of those. So I have some tea, and particularly I like that late at night when you need a snack or a nightcap, or first thing in the morning when you're hungry, you want a little something to eat. You need something to sort of hydrate yourself, or you want to start your day off with a little bit of a buzz. You don't want to go down to the casino. So I always hit up one of those little shops and get some supplies for the room. Okay, the fifth thing that I always seem to do when I'm on a trip to Las Vegas, and this one, I don't know what this says about me, but I call it my Sbarro moment. Yeah, but it isn't always Sbarro, but it is inevitably the slice of pizza. And when I say I do this on a trip, I usually do this on a trip 2 or 3 times, to where I'm stopping someplace and getting a slice. And it isn't always the most impressive slice. And yeah, sometimes it actually has been Sbarro. You're just walking around, stumbling around late night. You need something to eat. And it's like, oh, there's Sbarro. And it's open. So I guess I'll get a slice of pizza. On the most recent trip, there were 3 different occasions where we got a slice or 2 at Bonanno's Pizza, which I think is kind of a step up. I thought it was pretty good. We actually had it once sort of midday, so there was no alcohol affecting our judgment there. But yeah, and there's a lot of other places like that. Sure, there's some better pizza by the slice places. Secret Pizza's fine, but usually there's a big line. That kind of defeats the purpose, because for me, the thing about the slice of pizza is, one, it tends to be relatively cheap, at least compared to a lot of other foods you can buy anytime. Number 2, it tends to be available almost everywhere and into the wee hours of the morning. So if there's nothing else open, typically you're at least going to be able to grab a slice of pizza. And number 2, it is quick. I don't have to wait in line, get a table, get someone to wait on me. I can have a slice or 2 of pizza and be at a table or back in my room in a couple of minutes, and that's just about perfect. And of course, pizza does tend to be pretty filling, so it gives you a nice buffer for whatever you've been doing to your stomach and whatever you're planning to do later. If you're downtown, there's actually some really good pizza by the slice places that are open pretty late, like Pizza Rock or Evil Pie. And there's some better spots on the Strip as well. But like I said, it doesn't really matter how good it is. It's just a great way to fill up. So what are some things you always do when you go to Las Vegas, even if they're not very Vegas-y? I'd like to hear about it. Let me know in the comments below. We'll be back again next week, as always, with another episode of Vegas Weekly. And until then, I hope that you have a great, lucky, and healthy week. We'll see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.